of discussion. Yes, I quoted it, and students were happy with it, and they debated it. And I was a school prefect in RD2, you know. Every day we have whoever is on duty would write a report. And in that report, I wrote an entry which was subsequently, 10, 20 years later, another fellow prefect reminded me. And what did I write? A quote from Mao: "A day keeps the capitalist tendency away to play on the apple and the doctor." So it was that kind of track record in student days. But it did not end in RI. In Oxford, I participated in student politics too. When I stood against my fellow students for positions of the student council, and I won. I stood against elections against the British, and I won. So that's the kind of track record. Obviously, you can't expect me to be active in politics in Singapore, in the civil service, or in the banks that subsequently I worked. But there was an opportunity, and the people were really very unhappy in this in last few years. So I thought, why not I do something? Since I feel so passionate about it, why not come out and be a participant rather than be just an armchair critic?
Mr. Tan made some very sharp comments on the PAP and on the ability of ex-PAP members to be so-called independent if they are elected president. Ed, can I call on any of the ex-PAP members they want to respond to his comments? Sure.
I think first he's affiliated to a political party also. Yes. So you may have asked him that question you're going to ask me. Now, of course, I cannot deny that I've been a PAP member for so long, and I'm quite proud of that, you know. I think the PAP has given me a lot of opportunities to really express myself, to be what I am today. I cannot deny it. I'm very thankful for that. But having said that, I never toed the line of the PAP on not all the issues. Some of the issues I disagree. And the issues I disagree are usually national in nature. Because every time when there's a debate, I ask myself, is this in the interest of my country, or is it the interest of my party? So I have to make a decision. And in the case of, for example, nominated members of parliament, I voted against it because I think it's the interest of my party, not in the interest of the nation. So that is my stand. I don't want to tell, I think most of you may be familiar with some of the things I've taken up in the House, but I want to let him know that we are all not just blindly being party members. I think we all have a conscience, and if the conscience you believe is working against you, working against Singapore's interests, I have no choice. I have to put my stand very clearly. I don't agree.
And let me answer that as well. Now, I was a PAP cadre member for 10 years, from 1976 to 1985. As a cadre member, I helped Go Chok Tong, but mainly in building the Marine Parade grassroots organizations. It was also a period of time where many Singaporeans were proud to be Singaporeans, and they appreciate the PAP for giving low-cost housing, giving jobs, and giving a reasonably good standard of living. Now, I stopped being active after 1985 because that was, I think, the watershed where the PAP become quite different from the one I supported. You have the graduate mother scheme. You have got, I don't like how national service give our boys a disadvantage in jobs and the burden that they have to carry. A few other issues. So I stopped being active, but I couldn't resign because I was working for an NTUC organization. So I just become inactive. Now, on this election, I want to reach out to people of Singapore. Somehow we tend to look at issues as whether it's PAP or opposition. I say we should look at issues without putting in a political label. If these are issues that affect the people of Singapore, their life, their future. It doesn't matter who the person who speak, whether he's PAP or non-PAP. Let's look at this in the non-political way. Do we have an important issue? Does it need to be solved? Do we have a problem? And I want to play that role to identify issues to be given adequate consideration.
I want to return to the point which the question which Zoraida asked, in the sense that what can you offer as a candidate to be elected as a president of Singapore? In my view, the most serious issue that concerns Singapore today, and the most urgent, is the deteriorating global economy. I've said on other occasions, I view the economic situation with grave concern, and I choose my words very carefully. The American economy is stagnant, high unemployment. The credit rating has been lowered from AAA to AA+. Europe is in crisis. The European leaders are meeting all the time. Emergency sessions. President Sarkozy and Chancellor Merkel of Germany are actually meeting today in order to try and find some solution to the Eurozone crisis, because the rates at which even large economies like Spain and Italy can borrow from the market have risen to crisis levels over 6-7%. It is unsustainable, and this cannot go on. It will affect the whole world. It will affect Asia. Eventually it will affect Singapore. The last few weeks I've gone around and talked to a lot of people, trade unionists, chambers of commerce, Singapore manufacturers, and so ordinary people. The top issue is always the same: the economy. Will my job be safe? Will I be retrenched? What can the government do? I think here, with my background and the knowledge I have of the economy worldwide, the work which I've done at GIC and also in the private sector, with my experience, and I think a certain steadiness of temperament, I will be able to play a role in working with the government, all political parties and civil society to help Singapore get across the next crisis. And that is why I say that I believe that in the coming weeks and months, whoever is president will have to be deeply involved in helping to manage the economic health of Singapore. This will be trying times over the next weeks and months. We should be prepared for it, and I've suggested that it is not too early to draw up contingency plans in case this perfect storm of problems develop into a crisis which will engulf the global economy and then Singapore. Externally, I think the President can play a role, I hope play a role, in expanding the economic space of Singapore to represent Singapore overseas. And I think this is where the President as head of state can enhance the prestige of Singapore, give more opportunities for Singapore and Singaporean companies. Domestically and internationally, my view is that a very important issue will be to encourage and promote social harmony and community bonding, because there are deep divisions in our society. Many people are worried about high cost of living, rising prices, internal divisions. The President should play a role in helping to galvanize civil society organizations to rally together, help those who are disadvantaged, help those who need help. I think this can be best done through a community effort, but the President can play a major role through charity works, through sports, through cultural activities, to preserve this unique multiracial, multicultural harmony which we have here, which is extremely precious and actually extremely rare. Other countries are riven by internal disputes over race or culture or language or religion. We must never let that happen in Singapore. This requires a continuous effort, and the President can play a major role.
Can I respond? I fully agree with Tony on his view on the world economy. We also are very concerned about the world economy. But I would like to ask him, is this the job of the President? The President is not managing. I think Tony has managed his GIC very well, and we appreciate what he has done. But as a President, I don't manage. We don't manage. The important role of the President is safeguarding the reserves of the Singaporeans' money. In fact, at this trying time, I believe the President's role is extremely important, because there will be many, many people who want to dip into our reserves. And this is where the President must make sure that nobody touch their reserve unless he is given all the options of what they are doing, or the processes or the procedures before they can dip into the reserves. That is the role of the President. I'm not going to manage the reserves. The reserve is managed by all the experts. I think Taman is capable of doing all that. So that's my view. But his second point, I fully subscribe with him.
Could I respond to Dr. Tan Cheng Bok's point? I think that Dr. Tan Cheng Bok is fundamentally wrong. If you look at why Europe or America is in such economic trouble today, partly it's due to economic mismanagement, but more fundamentally is a failure of political leadership. It is the inability of the political leaders in Europe to come together to agree on any concrete plan of action. It is a failure of political leadership in America today between the two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, that they brought America to the brink of default. Political leadership is key to how you manage a country's economy. And I think this is where the President goes beyond the role of managing the reserves in order to work with the government. This cannot be an issue which can be solved by just managing the reserves. You have to galvanize the whole of society, as the government did in 2008 and 2009, to us to get through the last great financial crisis. A similar national effort will be necessary. I think the President can work with the government, with all political parties, again I stress all political parties, and with civil society, with trade unions. We are fundamentally strong in Singapore. We have a fundamentally strong economy. We will get through this crisis. The best days of Singapore still lie ahead of us.